on a Monday evening here on VSiN PrimeTime alongside Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. VSiN PrimeTime, as always, brought to you by ZYN Nicotine Pouches. Head over to ZYN.com to learn more. I don't know if you'll learn more at ZYN.com about the status of Donovan Mitchell, but as we just hit the airwaves, it is looking more and more likely that Donovan Mitchell will not be playing this evening for the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Here at Circa, the number has gone up to 10.5.
Yep.
And just a couple moments ago, there was a tweet out there from a credible reporter saying that Donovan Mitchell's status is unlikely.
Yeah, Grant Afseth, who, interestingly enough, covers the Dallas Mavericks, has reported that Donovan Mitchell not expected to play. He says that the sources tell him, so we'll see if that's going to be the case or not. Afseth, as you mentioned, is a respected and credited reporter, so maybe he would know. But at this point right now, people are believing Afseth's report, and the market's up to, like you said, 10.5 in some spots. So looks like Donovan Mitchell, who suffered a calf strain in this last matchup, not going to be available for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, and it was funny because we were sitting here, and I was looking at the board, and I started to see the total drop, and it dropped down to 205, open 208.5. I said, JVT, why has this total gone down? I said, well, what about Jared Allen? Jared Allen, by the way, JB Bickerstaff, when he met with the media about an hour ago, said both Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen were game-time decisions, and that, quote, we'll see regarding the status of both Mitchell and Allen. And certainly with this significant movement, JVT, there is some validity, I would imagine, to it. What do we got?
Adrian Wojnarowski corroborating said reports Donovan Mitchell will miss Game 4 for the against the Celtics with a left calf strain. So, sorry, I was reading it as well. I thought he was going to say it was done. He was out for 1 to 2 weeks, but no, that is not the case. Just out for tonight. So, Donovan Mitchell officially out.
Couple spots have taken it off the board. We're talking about Circa, and it's now to 11 here at Circa. So it continues to go up and up. I'm putting you on the spot here, JVT, but this was lined at 8.5. Both you and I laid 8 on Saturday. Friday show, we laid 8. Actually closed 7.5.
Yep.
They were able to win the Celtics comfortably, keep them kind of at arm's length in that double-digit spot the majority of the evening. What would you make this as a fair number? We've always talked about, is there an overcorrection? So with Donovan Mitchell now out, the significance of his offensive prowess with this Cavaliers team, what is a fair number when it comes to the Cavaliers in this spot?
I mean, I think you could argue it's probably worth a little bit more.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, so we're talking about a number that was floating around 8.5. And you could say, well, Donovan Mitchell was questionable, and the market had baked it in. I mean, I don't know if it had. I mean, remember, like you said, it was 8 for this last game, in Game 3, in which Donovan Mitchell was not dealing with anything, and yet here we are. We're only up to 10 after a number that was sitting at 8.5 all day. So
it is pretty much it's starting to get to 11,
and that's
creeping out and out. So Circa's at 11, DraftKings is at 11, so you're starting to see it creep out. If you're able to pick off a good number, I mean, the funny thing is, I saw it and I'm like, oh. Pulled out one of my apps, see if I could get the 8.5. That particular shop here in town had taken it down. Circa quickly and promptly moved it out to double digits and continues to move it here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the point was going to be. Is that it should probably be more like 11.5. I think you can argue even 12 at this point right now. In the postseason, without Donovan Mitchell on the floor, the Cleveland Cavaliers average 89.1 points per 100 possessions. That's not very good. That is in the, I don't know if this is a term, the 0th percentile. And according to Cleaning the Glass, and a net rating in the non-Donovan Mitchell minutes this postseason of negative 32.8, which is also in the, again, maybe not a real term, 0th percentile. So they're not good without Donovan Mitchell out there, as we've kind of seen. He has saved their bacon a little bit. We saw it in Game 7. We saw at least in the, at the very least, some of these performances in which, Tim, they've gotten blown out, but he has done almost everything for them. Obviously, multiple performances in which we're scoring around 30 points and you're still not hitting 100. Like
Game 1 of this series against the Celtics, they lose 120-95. He had 33.
Yeah, so I think you can make the argument it should be like closer to 12 than it should be to 10. So I would not expect, these 10.5s as we're talking, like they're gone. I'm looking at some straggling 10s, so if you want to go pick those off, if you will. My screen, I think, is a couple of minutes behind, but regardless, I think this should close about 11.5, 12. I think that he is worth more than just that 1.5 point bump we initially saw, and now we're up towards a 3. But I think that this thing should be pretty high considering how bad they've looked without Donovan Mitchell on the floor.
So once again, breaking news as we start the show here on a Monday night, Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Go ahead.
Just the last point, too, you might see that half-point bump as well if Jarrett Allen is also ruled out, right? So he's questionable. Generally, when you have guys listed as questionable, what the market will do is they'll shade it in the direction that the guy's not going to play, especially with a guy like Allen who's been out some time. And then once he's officially ruled out, you'll see that half-point bump. We talked about it, right, with Tyrese Halliburton. Remember, when he was listed as questionable, market, even though it seemed pretty clear he was going to play, market still moved a half-point once he was officially ruled out. But those who shaped the market bought that back pretty quickly and pushed it back to where it was. So, again, just keep an eye out for that. That might move even further. But I would say, again, 11.5, 12, probably your closing number. Not a stretch to say.
I mean, the point you made, too, this is a Cavaliers team that outside of Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Celtics has struggled mightily from an offensive standpoint. Their season or their playoff high point production was 106. That was Game 7 against the Orlando Magic. Did have 118, obviously, against the Boston Celtics in that victory. But you look at let's just look at the last 5 games, okay? You go back to the Game 6 loss in Orlando, 96 points as a team. Donovan Mitchell had 50. Game 7, 39 from Donovan Mitchell, 106-94 victory. 33 in Game 1. Cavaliers had 95 points. He had 29 points in Game 2. They erupted for 118. And then you go back to what has been the norm, 93 points on Saturday night, and 33 of those from Donovan Mitchell. So once again, if you're just joining us, the breaking news coming out from multiple reporters, including Adrian Wojnarowski, Donovan Mitchell out tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he is dealing with a left calf strain. We still don't know the status of Jarrett Allen, who has yet to play a game in this series. J.B. Bickerstaff, when meeting with the media, said he's a game-time decision and, quote, we'll see regarding the status of Jarrett Allen, who, once again, has not played in this series yet. But we're starting to see those numbers all kind of move up. Looks like we're at 11 consensus, and even some offshore shops have gone to a juiced 11 here in this particular spot.
And now, obviously, the real question is you play today on the 13th. You have only a day off before you go back to Boston for Game 5. So there is no extended rest here. So if Mitchell's going to miss today, if it's serious enough that he's going to miss today, we know how tricky calves can be. This seems to be the spring of the calf muscle, right? As we have seen this a ton of times. Giannis, Kristaps, Jamal Murray, and now, of course, Donovan Mitchell. We know how finicky these things can be. And so I would not be surprised if Mitchell's not going to be available here for Game 5. And even if he is, how effective can we be?
12.5 now at Circa.
Yeah, again.
Have you ever watched the show Price is Right? When that cliffhanger guy is like, ooh-doo. I mean, it's just this number just keeps going up and up. It's gone up 4 points here. And, I haven't grabbed it, but, I understand the move.
Oh, I thought this was moving on your money.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I will say it does speak to what we're talking about here, which is that initial bump was not enough. No. And the market clearly agrees with that sentiment, pushing this upwards of 12, as you mentioned, in multiple spots. So, again, it was kind of odd. And I will say this, too. You kind of mentioned it. There has been, kind of some odd resistance toward Boston in the postseason as a whole. We've seen it a lot when we've been on the show, where you'll see those half points get bought off, and Circa just moved off 12 to 11.5, so maybe that's going to be the ceiling for this number. But you've seen, right before tip a lot, that the market will kind of just okay, we'll grab that. You know what I mean? Dog lovers, if you will, just kind of grab a half or, the market at its peak, whatever it is. And it's been happening a lot with Boston. So maybe there's just that resistance to it. Like you said, over the weekend, it was 8 pretty much the whole time. Then it gets bought back down to 7, 7.5 right before tip. They covered every single number. So maybe the market was a little resistant to kind of upgrade this. But it does seem that 12 might be the peak of this because, as I mentioned, Circa right off of that 12 to 11.5. So 11.5, number that we threw out there, probably going to be where it closes.
I'm laughing to myself because we talked about it late last week regarding the Eastern Conference price, which was at one point when we came on the show at minus 310. That quickly got bet out to minus 450. However, after they lost Game 2, Boston, it dropped around minus 350 or so. Can we just discuss how fortunate Boston has been? Yes, Kristaps Porzingis is hurt, and he's out right now, and who knows if he'll return for the Eastern Conference Finals. He was out shooting earlier today. But the Miami series, they play a Miami team without Jimmy Butler. Now they're playing Cleveland in Game 4. No Donovan Mitchell. You look at what's waiting for them in the wings. It's either an Indiana Pacers team that's allergic to playing defense and, by the way, doesn't have Lauri Markkanen, or It's the 50% Knicks, who OG Anunoby, by the way, already ruled out for Game 5 with that hamstring injury. We know there's no Julius Randle. We know there's no Bogdanovich. It's no Mitchell Robinson as well. If the Celtics, I continue to say it, I even say it more emphatically, if this team doesn't make it to the NBA Finals, everyone should be fired.
Yes.
Everyone.
I think
they'll be there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're past that point. They think they'll be there. You get these two outlier performances that oddly enough happen in game twos in both of the series, but you bounce back really nicely. And one of the things we can get to in the details of this game too, but one of the things that has really stuck out when you evaluate what Boston has done in this series, Jarrett Allen could make a difference because they have destroyed Cleveland within 4 feet of the basket. They're shooting 72% on shots within 4 feet. They've taken 80 attempts at the rim over the course of these 3 games that they played so far. So it's something that the Celtics should be able to take care of business here. But I do think these little blips on the radar, when you play real competitive basketball in the NBA Finals, just something worth watching.
I do think something we could talk about later on in the show is looking at the Western Conference. And if there is a market, Eastern versus Western, do you look at taking the Western Conference? Because I'm not fully bought in on this Celtics team when they make it out ultimately of the East. Once again, breaking news just this hour. No Donovan Mitchell tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers, out with a calf strain, and the market's reacting as the Celtics now out to an 11.5-point favorite. It's VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
For a limited time only, we're offering our annual subscription at an unbeatable price, folks. Normally priced at just $240, you can now grab your Pro subscription for only $199, and we'll throw on 2 extra months for free. That's right, 14 months of VSiN Pro access, all for the price of a full year at $199. Use the promo code PRIME. Check it out now. It includes everything we do. You can watch every single show. You get access to our betting splits up on the website, courtesy of DraftKings, and of course, our betting tools. My favorite, the NBA Prop Bet Analyzer, which gives you history and up-to-date numbers on player prop analyzers in the NBA for points, rebounds, assists, and three-pointers made. Check it out now. VSiN.com/subscribe. 14 months for less than $200, all with the promo code PRIME.
Alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, I am Tim Murray. It is VSiN Primetime. Later this hour, we'll check in with Johnny Lazarus, live from Madison Square Garden. Can the Rangers close out the Carolina Hurricanes? It looked like it might happen on Saturday night. The Hurricanes get a late goal in Raleigh to force a Game 5 tonight in New York City. Once again, if you're just joining us, the breaking news of the day, Donovan Mitchell out tonight with a calf strain, and we've seen that market react in a 4-point movement towards the Celtics. Right now, DraftKings sits Celtics minus 12.5. Circa behind us has dipped down to 11.5, so a little bit of resistance, at least at the peak of that 12.5. Let me get your...
just a quick note for audience, too. Jarrett Allen is obviously the other name that we're watching here. Did not go through his normal pregame warm-up. We have no official word yet, but reading the writing on the wall, if he hasn't gone through his normal pregame warm-up, probably unlikely that he's going to be out there. And this random Twitter account that I follow does say that he will not play, so take that for what it's worth.
The random Twitter... We'll wait for a second source.
The random Twitter account that said that they were out and in at the same time. So I don't know how that works.
They couldn't be. They're not wrong, right? Well, regarding this game, so let's say you're just jumping in, you're just tuning in. Hey, how are you? We're free on YouTube, by the way, youtube.com/VSiN Live. You haven't bet this game yet. You missed the 8.5 when the news came out. Do you chase and take it at 12.5, or do you hope that maybe the Cavaliers, JVT, even without Donovan Mitchell, come out a little bit juiced up, little, as some people would like to call Ewing theory, and maybe you could get a cheaper in-game price on the Celtics if the Cavaliers come out without their star and hit a couple of early threes.
Real quick update. Official starting lineup is out. Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, and Evan Mobley. So no Jarrett Allen once again for Cleveland, probably why we've gotten up to 12.5. No, look, I don't think that you want to chase anything. Again, the market's fully matured at this point right now. I know we have these very deep conversations about closing line value and whatnot, but you want value on a number, especially in the postseason when these should theoretically be at their tightest. So, no, I think you wait in game, especially when you're talking about a team like Boston, right? If you like Boston here, you come in, you wait maybe for a couple of shots to go down for Cleveland, if that's going to be the case. Get a cheaper number and go in that direction. But I don't think you're trying to chase anything at this point. You were trying to do is trying to get ahead of it. So for those who laid like 8.5, hoping that wasn't going to happen, then you're in a pretty good spot. But right now, coming in and grabbing 12.5, where you're not going to get any closing line value in any way, shape, or form, probably not the best way to approach it at this point right now.
So no Donovan Mitchell tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as we've discussed, 11.5, 12. Where we sit right now at the market. DraftKings looks like they're the peak right now at 12.5. Total has started to come back up a little bit, so we kind of met that resistance point at 203 as we started to see that bounce back. So no Jared Allen, no Donovan Mitchell once again for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and for the Boston Celtics, Kristaps Porzingis continues to be out. However, we did see him on the floor today, putting up some shots, putting one leg up and switching the leg, so we'll see what that means moving forward for Kristaps Porzingis. It's a busy week, by the way. So we've got 2 Game 4s tonight. Celtics Cavaliers will lead off the doubleheader. Then Thunder and Dallas, as the Dallas Mavericks have taken a 2-1 series lead there. Do the Thunder even things up tonight? We've seen the market back Oklahoma City a little bit, going from 2.5 down to 1.5. We've got 2 games on the ice, Rangers and Hurricanes. Do the Rangers close out the Carolina Hurricanes Game 5 tonight? And then Dallas, Colorado. The Stars have won back-to-back games in this series after blowing Game 1 up 3-0, and now they have made that a 2-1 series in their favor. And then, of course, we've got the PGA Championship later this week, the schedule release later this week, JVT. We got a couple of nuggets today that we'll hit on, that the Baltimore Ravens will visit the Kansas City Chiefs to open up the NFL season. And then Michael Strahan just announced with Tom Brady that the first Brady broadcast on Fox will be Cleveland and the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
So we've got some football in our lives.
Yes, we do. And I know that life of the party, Tim Murray, was out there crunching starting kickoff times for college football. So I'm sure you're very excited. You come up with anything?
We got 2 of them. We got two kickoffs. I don't think it's worth mentioning in the first hour. Right. It's not.
I'm surprised we didn't lead the show off. I mean, thank God Donovan Mitchell got ruled out.
I mean, if Donovan Mitchell didn't get ruled out, all bets were off. Who knows where we would have started. All right, let's get
Were you really trying to figure it out, or you were just searching for count?
No, I was guessing.
And you really want to tell me that you have fun, outside of this show?
I do.
Interesting.
I found that very entertaining.
Okay.
Later tonight, we get Dallas and Oklahoma City. Dallas right now, a 1.5-point favorite. DraftKings is showing a 2, so best number out there if you are looking to back Oklahoma City is at DraftKings. 215.5, 216 is where we sit for this total, JVT. So Game 1, Thunder smashed the Mavericks, and since then, we've seen the Mavericks get the last 2 games. You wrote this game up for VSiN.com. I think a couple prop plays that intrigued you regarding this one, but initial feel, is this a zigzag spot? Do we look for the Thunder? Market's feeling like maybe this is the spot that the Thunder comes back.
Oh, so I think this series is fascinating, and not just for basketball reasons. The guys and gals who shape the betting market have planted their flag, and it is strictly in Oklahoma City. And if you look at the way the series opened, right, we talked about some spots, series price open pick.
Yep.
We closed at about $1.30, depending on where you shop for the series price. Game 1 line closed went in Oklahoma City's favor in terms of movement. Game 2 line was pretty high as well. Closed at around 5, if I remember correctly. Game 3 opened up 3, closed at 1 and 2 in some spots, but mostly 1 was the consensus number. And then you have here, we're kind of underselling it. This got to as low as 1. So this opened up, at 2.5, 3 again.
There's even one offshore shop that does have a 1.
Right, exactly. And then you saw this just head in one direction. And again, moving 1 point, from 2.5 to 1 or 1.5 points. But still, there's clearly some respected support behind OKC almost every step of the way. And yet here they are down 1-2. Or excuse me, 2-1. I guess you can't do that, reverse. But that's why I think this is so fascinating, because you have that dynamic, right? Which is the people who shape the market are clearly in on Oklahoma City. There's no other way to read what we've seen up to this point, Tim. The other part is you get Dallas, who, if you look at it statistically, I don't want to say the market's been right, But you see what they're looking at. They've played Dallas very well defensively. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving have not been overtly spectacular. But what happens is basketball. We call hockey a dumb sport. P.J. Washington is shooting like 1,000,000% from three in the last 2 games. And we'll get to him specifically when we talk about the props a little bit later. But it's so, I think, interesting to see kind of the market almost stubbornly go, no, like it's the Thunder. And we're going to continue to plant our flag
Which is the opposite of what we saw in the Clippers series, right? Which led to a lot of jokes from you saying, look, this Mavericks team was being talked about like they were the peak Golden State Warriors.
Correct. And so, and I think too, there is those who kind of have an influence in the betting market. A lot of them are very tied into analytics, numbers, everything like that, right? They have their spreadsheet, everything. So if you looked at a lot of the numbers, it totally makes sense that this would be the side that they're on. I just find this fascinating that, like, kind of to your point, this flip, this turn for Dallas, where from the second this series was set, we saw the betting market go, no, too low, and like go in that direction for OKC. And right now it hasn't very much paid off. But if that regression hits, if that water finds its level for P.J. Washington, and this team, Oklahoma City, does that that happens, and then they make the adjustment of, it's not all of his fault, but he is the poster child now, of maybe benching Josh Giddey and not starting him and trying to get this thing done, then maybe you're looking at an even series. But I think outside of the basketball, the market movement here has always been pretty fascinating to me, because now for every game in this series, the market has been on one side, and it's been OKC, after a series in which we thought that they were the reincarnation of the 2017 Warriors.
P.J. Washington, I know JVT's going to get to it in our best bets portion coming up on the other side of the break, but P.J. Washington, in the 2 victories in this series, has averaged 28 points, 27 and 29 respectively, and has shot 12 of 23 from outside the arc. That is outrageous.
I mean, he's literally the reason why they're up. Like, there's no other real question about that. Like, Kyrie Irving had that.
Tim Hardaway Jr. played well in game 2, right? He had a decent. It wasn't P.J. Washington. P.J. Washington had 29 in that game. I mean, Luka Doncic has gone, as I pull up his player props, he's gone under his points total every single game in this series.
Yeah, they've played them well, and when I say P.J. Washington is a reason why, because when you as a team can exploit the other team's strategy. Their strategy is essentially let P.J. Washington, very boiled down basically, is let's let him shoot from the corners. And P.J. Washington has said, okay, and has nailed them for it in these first few games.
Donovan Mitchell out for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as is Jarrett Allen once again. And the Boston Celtics now a 12.5-point favorite at DraftKings. Best bets for tonight coming up on the other side.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
For the contest card starts today, and I'm talking all of them, right? Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, National Basketball Association, and more. Check out VSiN.com. We've got articles for every single sport, exclusive to VSiN Pro subscribers. We've got best bets in all of said sports. And how about this? Tomorrow, guess what starts? WNBA season. Tyler Shoemaker's got his win total picks from the T-Shoe Index and more right now. VSiN.com. And for those who are hankered for some pigskin pontification, Mike Samich with his updated NFL futures best bets. All at VSiN.com. Check it out today.
Johnny Lazarus going to join the show live from Madison Square Garden coming up in 15 minutes. Jay Laz has been hitting them. He's got his write-ups every day there. He's got some videos that he tweets out as well. And tip of the cap to him on that. Was that Game 3 victory on the Igor Shesterkin over saves prop. So good plays there from Mr. Lazarus, who will join us. Once again, Donovan Mitchell, if you haven't heard, is out tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That game expected to start around top of the hour. And with that, we have seen the market move in favor of the Boston Celtics out to around 11.5. DraftKings is the peak 12.5, but it looks like we're settling in at around 11.5. No Jarrett Allen as well. Dallas, a 1.5-point favorite against Oklahoma City. All right, let's do it as we do bottom of the hour each and every day here on VSiN Primetime. Our best bets.
I see you using an old style.
I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
Putting our money where our mouth is.
I like to live dangerously.
It's time for best bets.
Come on, Jerry, it's a lock.
All right, on Friday, we had the Knicks plus 7.5. There's a little bit of sweat there, but the late miracle three-pointer avoided overtime, so That was a good thing in one sense, JVT, but also not great for our series price situation there with the Knicks as they came out and got absolutely obliterated yesterday. We'll talk more about Knicks.
Small glimmer of hope.
And Pacers. Still alive, not dead yet. And then the Celtics, a bounce-back spot on Saturday night. We laid a bad number, -8. Maybe that's the way to go. Forget CLV, just get the winners. But the Celtics won game number 3 on Saturday night with ease. So a good weekend for us. What do you got tonight? You alluded to it, but let's jump into it. You're right up on VSiN.com. People can check it out each and every weekday on VSiN.com. What do you got for us from the prop standpoint?
Yeah, I can't wait to have some tasty closing line value sandwiches to consume here. We're going under on P.J. Washington props. Under 2.5 3-pointers made, under 15.5 points for P.J. Washington. As mentioned, he's been absolutely awesome in this series, especially in the last 2 games. When you look at some of the numbers for him, last 2 games combined 22 of 41 from the field, 12 of 23 from deep. The efficiency has been insane, and he has made Oklahoma City pay for the way that they've been playing defensively. Having said that, Oklahoma City is playing the way they are defensively, Tim, for a reason. P.J. Washington, career 35.4% three-point shooter. That's really been held up by the first 2 years in the NBA. Since 2021, he's a 34.2% shooter. In a Mavericks uniform in the regular season, he shot 31% from 3. Against the Los Angeles Clippers, in fact, he averaged 10 points on 31% shooting from 3. And the Clippers played him in a near same way. They were doubling Luka Doncic. They were getting the ball out of his hands. They were allowing others to work. And that's a strategy that they had used, and Washington did not burn them as much on the offensive end. So you get those, right? You get the percentages that you can play here, if you will. But the big thing for me is the adjustments. P.J. Washington at the beginning of this series, Tim, his 3-point make prop was at 1.5. We're up to 2.5 now for the next 2 games. His point total prop went from 10.5 in game 1 up to 15.5 here for game 4. I just think when you look at, yes, these last 2 games, he has been incredible. And maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to continue to play this way and allow the percentages to play out and hopefully not get burned by this. Because, again, as we've talked about before, right, regression is not guaranteed, whether it is over the course of the game, whether it's over the course of the series. Ask the Miami Heat about that in their first-round series against Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe P.J. Washington just goes scorched earth for the entirety of this series. But if you couple those with the market adjustments that we have seen, I think that's worth taking a crack at going under on P.J. Washington. And the market seems to agree, by the way. Under 2.5 3-pointers made, at least over at DraftKings right now, for P.J. Washington is now under -1. Where are we at? I'm looking at it right here. Under -140, if I'm looking at this correctly. Or is he off? I actually might be blind. Yeah, under -135. And then point total prop is 15.5, shaded under -148. So I think that the market's in agreement with me here. Let's play these things and hope for some regression to the mean for one P.J. Washington.
So we talked about this on Friday, and to be honest, I completely forgot about it when it came to betting it from a Josh Giddey standpoint. But you pointed out, Mark Dagenholt, his thought process on Josh Giddey. So Josh Giddey in this series has played 41 minutes. Mm-hmm. He is -28 when he's on the floor. If you're wondering, the Oklahoma City Thunder are +9 as a team in this series, losing Game 3 by 4, losing Game 2 by 9, and then winning Game 1 by 22. And there was an article out there, I forget who posted it, I think it was on CBS Sports, showing different possessions that Josh Giddey is on the floor. And from an offensive standpoint, Dallas Mavericks have flat out said, we're not going to guard him, especially at 3 outside the arc. 100%. And then they'll look to attack him anytime he's on the floor. So what we've seen is a significant decline in his minutes. He's played just 41 minutes, despite being a starter in this series. Now, the market has adjusted massively with his player props because he doesn't play all that much right now. I do wonder, and you pointed this out on Friday's show, how much are we going to see of Josh Giddey here this evening? So the player prop corresponds with that at 6.5. I played a little under 6.5. The juice has moved to -135 now. If you want to, take a page out of Brad Evans' book and SGP it, with something else to move that juice around. Certainly could look that way. 2.5 rebounds, heavily juiced to the under at minus 148. I think that could be a look. But once again, when you're laying decent juice on props, I always get a little bit worried there. But I'm going to go under Josh Giddey, 6.5 points here. I just think, even though he went over it in Game 3, I think ultimately, JVT, what we are anticipating is a decent change here for his production. And then a little show sweat. Why not? Hurricanes, Rangers. Hurricanes facing elimination again at Madison Square Garden. First period over has actually hit, I believe, 3 out of 4 games here in this series. But as you get into later parts of these series, things tighten up a little bit. You're going to get a desperate Hurricane squad, but I anticipate a solid effort from Shesterkin in net. So I'll go under 1.5 goals here. Circa has minus 118. I think there's some minus 115s out there, but we'll have a little second hour show sweat. We'll go first period under in the Hurricanes-Ranger game, Game 5 tonight. Puck drop north just after 7 o'clock Eastern.
I am fascinated by this series. I cannot wait to talk to Johnny about this coming up next. Because as we've talked about, right, it's somewhat similar to Phoenix and Minnesota in the first round for the NBA, which was, the market it was Carolina, right? Carolina was a series favorite. They were a favorite on the road in the first 2 games. In fact, you look at $1.04 to $1.12, $1.15, not massive, but still favored on the road. They've been favored in every game up to this point in this series. And you kind of see why. Through these first 4 games now, the even strength metrics are overwhelmingly in favor of Carolina. Corsi for percentage or shot share, Carolina. Expected goals for plus 102 edge, Carolina. High danger chances, Carolina. So, you can kind of understand where the market's been. And is this the start of a turnaround for the Hurricanes? Because all these even strength metrics point to Carolina outplaying New York up to this point, and yet they're down 3-1 and trying to stave off elimination. So I can't wait to talk to Johnny about this because I am fascinated by this series overall.
And if you were a Hurricane fan on Saturday night, you were just thinking when that game got tied up at 3, JVT, you're going, oh yeah, here we go again. We're going to lose in overtime because that's just been the MO of this series, right? Game 2, double overtime loss to the Rangers. Game 3, overtime loss to the Rangers. And you thought, here we go again, but they were able to sneak one past Shesterkin late in that game on Saturday night in Raleigh. So Game 5 tonight, Rangers right now, I think around a pick'em in this spot with this game getting ready. Yeah, different books are shaded one way or another. Circa's shaded slightly towards Carolina. Another book in town shaded more towards the Rangers. So we'll call it kind of a pick'em. From that standpoint. Dallas and Colorado still to come tonight as well. That is a Game 4, not a Game 5, so no elimination possible there. But Dallas is a short road dog against the Colorado Avalanche.
You might want to adjust your power ratings for Cleveland and Boston. We do have some breaking news here.
Why do I think this is going to be a joke?
Donovan Mitchell. LeBron James is in attendance for this game today.
Really?
Yeah. Out there to watch his old team, according to reports. As are the Kardashians, so I don't know what you do with that one. But LeBron James is sticking around. Wouldn't it be just some of that Cleveland magic, in front of your old king?
Do they like him now? Because he won the championship.
Oh, they better like him. Stop. After everything he did for that, I'm not going to say anything. I like Adam Burke, who's going to join us later. And I've only flown over Cleveland, but after I was smelling whatever it was,
the land.
We flew over, I could assume that it's...
Hey, they're not Detroit. At least we're not Detroit.
Is that what the whole thing was? Yeah.
That was a song out there. All right. Johnny Lazarus going to join us live from Madison Square Garden. Do the Rangers finish off the Carolina Hurricanes? We'll find out next right here on VSiN PrimeTime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
NBA playoffs are heating up, and so is the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code VSiN only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. We're live here from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. You can follow him at MeJVT. You can follow me at 1 Tim Murray. Before we bring in our guests live from Madison Square Garden, just a reminder of the breaking news this hour. No Donovan Mitchell this evening for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as he has been averaging over 31 points per game in this Eastern Conference semifinal. And the market has responded by going out to 11.5 right now. There's still a 12 out there, but mostly 11.5. So even that DraftKings number has dipped a little bit. Jared Allen out as well for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But according to Twitter and Jonathan Von Tobel, LeBron James apparently in the house.
Oh, yes. Well, not according to me. I have not reported that.
We've thrown it out to our listeners there. So 11.5 is that spread. That game starting top of the hour. No plays from either one of us. We'll see if Cleveland comes out buzzing with the king in the house, and maybe you can get Boston, that is, on a cheaper in-game price. A series could come to an end tonight in New York City. Rangers hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's head to our progressive guest line and bring in our hockey analyst at VSiN.com. It is Johnny Lazarus, who is there live at Madison Square Garden. All right, take us back to Saturday night and just kind of the feeling in Raleigh and what you took away, because I was joking with JVT, Johnny, that Carolina fans had to be sitting there thinking at 3-3, here we go again. We're going to lose in overtime to this Rangers team. They sneak one past Shesterkin. They win 4-3. So how do you feel, and how do Rangers fans feel heading in tonight that Carolina was given some new life with a 4-3 win on Saturday night?
Well, honestly, it's funny how hockey works. And first of all, always great to be on with you guys. You know, I love joining the show. And sorry for the background noise ahead of time. But, you know, I thought in Game 3 the Hurricanes were the better team, and in Game 4 the Rangers, you know, minus the first 15 minutes, were the better team in that game. But the opposite team won those games, right? The Rangers win Game 3 in overtime, and the Hurricanes take Game 4. But the thing that Hurricanes fans should feel good about is that their power play finally came through in the biggest moment. You know, with a little bit under three or so minutes remaining in that game. Brady Shea scores a one-time goal from the point, an absolute blast. That beat Shesterkin. They were 0 for 16 on the power play prior to that, and that was the one area the Rangers had them dead. And now they have a little bit of life in a very important aspect of a hockey game. You need your power play to score goals if you're going to win. Now, all Carolina has to do is win one game on the road tonight, and then we got a series. So it's going to be a pretty nerve-wracking feel here tonight in MSG if the Rangers don't come out hot.
So, Johnny, I was telling Tim the series is fascinating for multiple reasons, and one of which is if you look at the even strength metrics, Carolina has an edge in a lot of these categories. So what's transpired to have them trailing 3-1, and is part of that nervous energy maybe that there are some categories which Carolina has been better and yet still they're down? Could this be part of a really big turnaround for the Hurricanes?
This series has been Igor Shesterkin and the Rangers' power play. Shesterkin had those, back-to-back games where he makes 99 saves. He's been unbelievable. He's been, arguably the best or second-best goalie in the whole playoffs. Jeremy Swayman in Boston's been unbelievable, and, he's really kept the Bruins alive in that series, even though they have no business being in it. But, the Rangers' power play, too, they clicked. They haven't scored now in the past two games. So they win Game 3 without a power play goal. They only get one chance in Game 4, and the power play ends up being the difference in that game. So that's been the biggest difference in this series. And as far as the even strength 5-on-5 numbers go for Carolina, they do get a lot of shots, they get a lot of chances, but a lot of them aren't very high quality. And that's been one thing, too. They're putting pucks on Shesterkin, but not in very dangerous areas where they're making his life a little bit easier. So that was a focus for them in Game 4 to get more quality shots as opposed to just quantity. And you saw that in the first 10, 15 minutes. They scored 3 goals. One's a rebound where Nation comes off the bench, is untouched. The first one, a beautiful shot by Evgeny Kuznetsov. He uses Trouba as a screen. And the third one, Aho left alone in front, and Gensel finds it for a one-timer. So, Carolina just did a better job at getting to the better, more dangerous areas, and that was the difference for them in Game 4.
Johnny Lazarus live from Madison Square Garden. As you can hear, they're getting fired up for this Game 5 tonight. Puck drop north of just a little after 7 o'clock Eastern time there in New York City. All right, Johnny, let's get to something near and dear to your heart. First period totals. It's always 1.5, but the juice is always going to vary. Here in this particular game, it's slightly juiced towards the under here. We've seen in this particular series, the over is hit in 3 of 4 games. For the Carolina Hurricanes in their 9 postseason games, over is hit 7 of 9 times. For the Rangers, 6 of 8 times. The dummy that you're speaking to right now took an under here. What do you expect in the first period? Because we saw a Carolina team come out and pepper Shesterkin and get 3 goals in the first period on Saturday night.
Yeah, fellas, I love the under in the first period. I'm not going to lie. Ever since Game 1, I've kind of avoided it in this series. I really thought it would be 4 for 4 going into this game if I were to predict going into this. But, it's been weird. Like, the first periods have been a lot more offensive than you could expect between these two teams that are really good defensively and both have great goaltending. But tonight's game, I avoided it just because the Rangers need to come out and have a hot start. And when their offense gets going, it's really dangerous. We saw it happen in game one. They scored 3 goals in the first period. I kind of expect that same kind of jump tonight from them. Just knowing that they have a chance to put a team away here on home ice and how poorly they started in Game 3 and Game 4. Peter Laviolette, the Rangers head coach, was very outspoken about how he did not like their starts to the last 2 games. So I think the first 10 minutes will be a major focus in tonight's game because you want to take any life that Carolina feels they might have away from them right away.
All right, let's go to the evening puck drop then. 6:30 p.m. Pacific. We get Colorado and Dallas. I would say, like, just talking to some people, maybe a surprising series lead here for the Stars. What do we expect? We're looking at about $1.35 price tag for Colorado at home with a total of 6.5.
Is that Colorado's down 2-1, but they haven't even had a lead yet in this series. They technically didn't lead in game one, even though they won that game, but they came back from down 3-0 and won the game in overtime. So they haven't played with a lead. So I think for Colorado, similar to the Rangers, you want to come out and have a good start. They haven't scored the first goal in any game yet. And Colorado's offense, they only scored 1 goal in game 3. It's tough to really slow down those guys like Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. And back-to-back games, their power play is another focus of tonight's game, too. They've gone 0-3 in back-to-back games. It's really tough to keep those guys off the board. So I expect Colorado to score the first goal in this game tonight and then let it run from there. And to me, this is going to be a lopsided game for the Colorado Avalanche. They're just too hard to slow down, but if there is one team that can do it, it is the Dallas Stars. That said, Colorado at home is tough to bet against.
All right, Johnny, I need to pick your brain on this because we had an interesting weekend in hockey. And look, I'm not really in tap with a lot of folks when it comes to, conversations around some of these teams. But I'll say this. Are Boston Bruins fans being babies here? Like, what are we doing? The numbers point to Florida absolutely whipping this team. And you look at it, the complaints about goalie interference and the Marchand hit, all of these. I thought we were playing playoff hockey here. What's going on?
Well, last night in particular, I think 2 things can be true. The Florida Panthers deserved to win that game last night, but I don't think Boston deserved to have it be decided by the refs. That goal interference call, you can call it what you want. I personally didn't think there was a lot on that cross-check by Sam Bennett. Like, I could have seen it going either way. But at the same time, I do think that Swayman wasn't able to play his position, so I see why it could have been called interference. And I know that's, me sitting on the fence, but that's just really how I feel. I think both things can be true. But the Bruins, again, I think anyone who's watched hockey, even some Bruins fans, would admit they have no business being in this series. The only reason they are in it is because Jeremy Swayman's been unbelievable, but Florida looks like a true cup contender and Boston does not. And we said, you look at Boston's roster, it's not necessarily the best roster in the NHL. So they got lucky to be in the playoffs. I don't want to say they got lucky to be in the playoffs. They were a good team all year long. But when you look at other playoff teams, they're not really in the same neighborhood.
All right, really quick, because we got 90 seconds left at the end. I know we're not going to talk to you again by the time Vancouver-Edmonton puck drops. I'll just ask this. Does Edmonton have an issue in goal? What are they going to do moving forward?
Edmonton always has an issue in goal, but they got to score goals themselves at 5-on-5. Vancouver's in the better team, I think, at even strength. And the Edmonton Oilers have to find a way to score goals at even strength if they're going to win this series. But, the Oilers always have concerns in goal. That's nothing new.
Johnny, always appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game tonight.
I got a question for you quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Am I going to have to hear LeBron James attended the Cleveland Cavaliers game on ESPN all day tomorrow?
It depends if you just hope they don't win, because if he does, he's going to be the inspiration.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
See ya.
There he is. Johnny Lazarus. Yes, if you had not heard, he joined us on a Progressive Guest Line. This was the tweet from Adam Himmelsbach, who covers the Boston Celtics. Or actually, he retweeted this. Cavs are expecting a special guest tonight for Game 4, a 6'9" Akron native who called this building home for 11 years and helped the franchise win its only NBA championship. I didn't know Matthew Dellavedova was from Akron or 6'9".
Come on. That's a bad joke.
I know. I was trying. I was like, come on, think of a name.
One of the most underrated performances in a finals loss.
Matthew Dellavedova?
Oh, big body Delly.
Chasing around Steph Curry. Didn't he have to go to the hospital?
Dude, yeah, just throwing his belly at him like the whole time. It was such a good performance. Him and Timofey Mozgov. People forget. It's the series that got Timofey Mozgov paid.
He made 4 for 80 from the Lakers?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Like at midnight, the Lakers were like, get him. That went well.
No Donovan Mitchell tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Final thoughts on that game before it tips off in Cleveland, where LeBron James going to be there as a fan. That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. It is VSiN Primetime.